Awesome. Well, welcome again, ladies. I am so honored that you're here and willing to share some of.
Oh God, I can't hear you guys now.
Can you hear me now?
Mm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. My headphones just died, so I had to do a quick switcheroo.
Yep, I know exactly how that goes. Awesome. So as I was saying before, basically I see these conversations with different moms and daughters and experiences as an opportunity for us to help others and to help bring women together. Something I noticed a lot in puberty, but ever since then, is this competitive energy, like women comparing themselves and kind of being catty, right? Pretty much everyone has an experience from middle school or high school that was like negative with women. And so I'm kind of hoping that I can shift that energy, at least in the people that I come into contact with, to being more collaborative and like we're stronger together and coming together more. So anyway, just to give a little prep. So anyone that doesn't know, this is my friend Suzanne and her daughter Erin. I'm Neve, and we're just gonna talk about mom-daughter relationship things and sacred passages into womanhood and what that looked like. So I guess I could ask my first question to Erin. I don't know, but feel free to jump in whenever. So for your experience as a young woman, like let's go with like 10 to 14-ish. So I don't know when exactly you started your period, but in that time frame, whenever that was, if you can remember back, what did you like to do?
Yeah. I liked hanging out with friends. So I was in 7th grade when I got my period. And I don't know what month it was. I think it was nice out, but I could be not remembering it correctly. But I basically in 7th grade just liked hanging out with my friends. I was like hanging out with boys for the first time at that age too, and like having crushes and stuff. I got a cell phone in 7th grade, so I actually used to say texting was one of my favorite activities, and now it's one of my least favorite activities. So I've changed.
Do you like to talk to people on the phone now? Is that?
I would rather do that. I'd rather just not have a phone at all, but it's not really a choice or not really an option.
Yeah, society has definitely made that difficult. Okay, so any like fondest memories or challenges or proudest moment?
Yeah, I guess my fondest memories are just like looking back on my friend group because my female friend group really solidified in 7th grade. And like you mentioned earlier, the competitive energy that women will have with each other. And I feel like so lucky that I had such a good friend group. Like we really weren't like that at all. And I feel like a lot of my confidence and just my personality like comes from my strong female friends that I'm still friends with today. Like we just really loved each other and we were just goofy and weird and we just like did whatever and we always stood up for each other and stuff too. And we still have that. So I guess that's specific memory, but just in general. And then probably proudest moments would be like playing soccer, which my girlfriends played soccer as well. And just like playing well on the field and like scoring and just feeling powerful together.
Yeah, it's such a good feeling when you score the goal. It's just like, yes, everything is perfect now. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, any challenges that you remember from that age?
Yeah, I think just being insecure, like not about who I was, but like worried about like my armpit sweat, like my pit stains, I guess is, yeah, that's what we called them. And of course, it's like so silly, like, yeah, wear a light pink shirt to school, like you're gonna get pit stains. So like that was foolish. So yeah, that was probably like biggest stressor, pit stains. Yeah, or once you have your period, oh, did my period go through my pants? And like every time you had your period, thinking that it was definitely going to go through your pants, not realizing that like tampons and pads like work. So it's probably not going to go through your pants.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common fear that we all have at that age. So that totally makes sense to me. Okay. And then Suzanne, like as her mom, or I guess for Lily, if it's for both of you, but how do you, Erin, feel like Suzanne really, your mom really supported you during those years? Like what did she do that you're like, yes, that was awesome?
Yeah, I actually just recommended this book to someone the other day. Remember that American Girl doll book that you got me? It's like the body book for girls. And I just looked it up before this too. So it's called The Care and Keeping of You, the body book for girls. And I think that played a really big role in my comfort in my own body too, like knowing that all bodies are different shapes and sizes. And I really remember the body dysmorphia page, like the skinny girl looking in the mirror and seeing an overweight, like an unhealthily overweight person in the mirror. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was a thing. So I don't know if that's what like made me always love my body, because I'm not like the skinniest person, but like if you called me skinny, like I'd be sad. Like I don't want to be skinny, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. Is there anything else that you remember, Suzanne, that you were like, yeah, that was a huge impact? Or I thought it was on Erin, and then you can comment, Erin, if it wasn't.
Well, it's funny. I had forgotten about that book, Erin, and I remember getting it for you. And I remember actually doing some research trying to decide which book to choose. And I liked the graphics. They weren't silly. They weren't like beneath where you were developmentally, but they weren't beyond where you were developmentally. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, this fits. This fits. So I'm glad you remember that. And because I do remember that you would read it. And in true form, I remember, I think sometimes you'd even have it like bookmarks or little post-its, you know, so I knew that it was definitely like a resource for you, which is really great. And then I also share those really nice memories you have about your friend group. So from a mom's point of view, we really didn't go through a lot of angst socially with my other daughter, Mary Kate, as well. We were very fortunate. Like you had really good friends, and I was friendly with their parents as well. And I think that helped with everything because it was like more like a village type of approach to parenting each other's kids. And we had kids in and out of this house. We always had like different piles for different friends when they would leave things, like, so, you know, laundry. I mean, it was just a lot happening, and it was really very comfortable. I'm not saying it was perfect, you know, I know you girls had things would come up, but the parents didn't get involved. Like you kids sorted things out. That's my memory of parenting you, which was, I always appreciated that because that's how I parented to my children. It was like, you guys, I have confidence that you can resolve this issue. So I tried to, you know, stay out of it as much as I could in terms of like resolving conflict.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And it's such a blessing too, to have friends that are supportive. And then when I know for me going to the playground, it's like some parents I really resonate with and others I don't. And so that's beautiful that you were able to bond at least enough to nurture children's relationship. That's really cool. Okay, so is there anything that you, I guess this would be for Erin, would have been helpful on your journey, or, and I'll just put this in the chat so you see the question, but did you ever say like, I wish mom would, or why does mom keep doing that? Or I don't really get this.
Yeah, the only thing that comes to my mind is one of my friends, like one of my closest friends, got their period like maybe like 2 years before me, or like a year and a half, like definitely at least a year. And they would go to the bathroom, and like they would go to the bathroom like upstairs, and I'm like, oh, like they didn't tell me they got their period, and I think they were embarrassed because they got it like earlier. So I wish that, I guess there was just more of a general dialogue, like in general, like with all women everywhere to make it more normal. And I definitely make sure I do that as a teacher. Like I'm always like, da 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 da, whatever. I have band-aids and I have tampons and I have pads. And then, the kids are like, ooh, and I'm like, well, they're not used, like, and they're clean. And this is like a thing that is happening. And I know the nurse has pads that are like wicked bulky and gross. So like if you want a good pad or a good organic tampon, like I'm telling you guys now that I have that stuff. And like boys, same to you. Like if one of your friends is a female and needs that, like let me know and I can give you a pad and you can take a pad and you can go whatever. And the kids have always been so great, like great with that. So not really anything specific, definitely nothing like that, Mom, that you like kept saying that I wanted to stop saying. I don't know. I don't really have like super strong memories. I just knew about it and I feel like I got it late compared to some of my friends. So I was sad that like I didn't know how to talk to my friends about it to be like, hey, like, you can tell me. So I wish maybe I had that language or that like maybe if we had more conversations or more deeper, meaningful conversations. I don't really know because I don't remember. Then maybe I would have been confident to like talk to my friend like, oh, like that's cool, like you got your period. But it was like a secret.
Yeah.
Suzanne, anything to add to that or?
Yeah, I was thinking about this conversation, and one thing that kept coming to me in terms of what I wish I had done with you and Mary Kate, was, and you haven't brought this up yet, but I think it's going to resonate with you. Number one, I wish I had understood the moon cycle, right? And how our periods affect us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all levels.
Yeah.
I wish, because I wish I had more of an understanding of that so that I could have shared that with you. I remember when I was a kid, every time I got my period, I was surprised. And I was always like, like I was never prepared. I was always surprised. And then as I got older and I started to understand my mood and like a craving, I would find myself reaching for like a chocolate bar at a CVS or something that I normally never would be drawn to. And then I'd get my period the next day. So I started to like start making connections, but no one had ever really taught me that. So, for you, I wish I had been able to talk to you about that, how your emotions, I think for you, like emotionally, remember my understanding, right? My memory is that you would get emotional before your period, right? Do you remember that? And I wish I had more language around that to support you with that instead of like, I know I never said push through it, but I don't think I wish I had given you more.
Yeah, I don't think like that like connection was made, like, or if it was, it didn't like marinate in my brain enough for me to understand that, because I feel like I like just figured that out like I don't know 5 years ago and I'm 29, so like not ideal. And using the Flow app, which I'm sure Neve you recommend to people, is a really good way to do that too. But yeah, in high school I feel like I was like, oh, I get my period at the end of the month, but like months are different lengths and like that's gonna change. So then like whatever 4 months later or 6 months later, like after I had this big discovery, I was no longer the case. So I was like, oh my god, like I'm pregnant or something. Like yeah, when it's like, oh, it's 28 days and like
right.
So it's not like the 15th every month, your period. Yeah.
So this is really fascinating to me. And I'm glad that you brought this up because one of the main things I want to do in this mentorship and working with moms and daughters is to teach / share, go with them. We're going to go through a whole cycle together, a whole moon cycle, and track our emotions and our physical, whatever things that are happening, cravings, etc., together as a group. And what I'm curious is, like, Erin, do you think you would have been receptive to your mom sharing that stuff? And Suzanne, do you think she would have been receptive? Because at that age, you're kind of at a different mental space.
I think maybe not in high school unless it was framed in a way where like maybe there's a video of like not my mom but somebody else explaining that they do that and like the benefits of it. So like a cool like famous person or something. Because yeah, moms, like when you're 16, you're like, okay, I don't probably can't swear. You're like, ew, no, mom. Like, that's just true. And like that was how it was. And like now I'm like, oh, like I love my mom like a lot. And like we're like friends and like I like her. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think, mom? Like would I have been like
I think in middle school we could have had those conversations more easily than high school. High school, Erin, you were a force. You were a force. And there just was not a lot of room for some of my parenting. Not like it just,
I was bad.
No, you weren't bad. You were evolving and emerging. And I mean, like looking back, you weren't, I would never use that. I wouldn't say bad, but I don't think you would have been, I don't think you would have been as open to it. Yeah, I think, receptive, but I say that, but we could talk about things like that though. I think we could talk like we could definitely have those kind of conversations. I don't know how deep we would have gone with it. I agree. I think that age, and I actually work with high school kids. So I agree with you, Evan. It's a really good point. I think that a lot of students that are coming to mind would be more receptive to having somebody outside, besides their mother or an auntie, a grandmother, having somebody else talk about it could make a huge difference. Yeah. Someone a little bit closer to
I think making the connection.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I agree with that. And I think like we did do yoga together when I was in high school, like a little bit. Like that's when you first introduced me to yoga. And I feel like making that connection, like maybe that's a smart way to connect it. Or like, divine feminine power. Like I feel like there are a lot of branches that come out of menstruation that you could tie a lot of things to that probably to interest anybody, to like hook anyone in.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate both of you sharing, especially because that's sort of what I'm thinking as far as what I remember from being young, is that if there was another cool person that was talking about the similar stuff my mom was talking about, it would maybe like convince me that maybe my mom wasn't crazy. But as we're adults now, looking back, it's like, what was my brain doing during puberty? Like, it's hard to remember exactly. Like, I remember scoring goals. Like, I remember some of those feelings. What I've been recently, this is totally off topic, but I really want to share with someone, so I'm going to share with you all. What I remember is going to the skate rink and doing skate races and just loving being on my skates. And now roller skating's back. So I'm really, I'm really excited. So anyway, side note, but that was something that I loved at that like 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old age. So is there any other advice that you would want to offer moms and or me and or daughters, I guess, with this rite of passage or the period stuff?
I have something I would love to share. Again, this kind of came to me too. So I'm one of 4 girls in my family, and we're all a year apart. And my memory of how my mom how she like introduced, it was almost just like, what's that word when it just absorbed it because it was all around me. I had 2 sisters who were older. So I just knew, I remember I was like called into my mom's room. It was actually really fun. It was a very positive experience because my sister Eileen, a year ahead of me, she got her period. So it was like, all right, everyone else come in and like get the same talk, right? And it was fun because I wasn't even close, and she had everything laid out on the bed, like the tampons, the pads. And when I was a kid, we actually wore something called a sanitary belt. That was what it was called. And it was this little elastic that you would wear around, and that you put the pad, the piece of paper on the pad, you'd put it through. Yeah. And so she had it all out, and it was really fun. So she had it all out for us to see. And it was fun for me because I was nowhere close to it. But my memory is then when I got mine, it wasn't like the special time for me because I already knew it. And I didn't get like a recap. It was like, oh yeah, you know where everything is type of thing. Do you know what I mean? So my point is, I think it's really important because I have 2 girls. I think it's really important, even if you're one daughter, if both anyone knows because of their friends or their cousins, it's still important to have that one-on-one time with each person to like really kind of like honor like this is happening to you, right? And so I try to do that with you and Mary Kate. That was really, really important to me, that I made each of you feel like this is happening to you. This isn't just something that you know about because it happened to your older sister. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And was there, did you do any kind of ceremony or ritual or rite of passage, or was it just like a one-on-one intimacy time with your daughter?
So we know no ritual. I think it was like I mean, my memory, it was like a conversation and like before it happened. I don't know if you remember, Erin, like details.
I thought I pooped my pants. It
Yeah.
was in school. I went to the bathroom. It was ELA block, and I went to the bathroom with Liz, and I peed, and then I whatever like I had my pants down. I saw what I thought was, I was like, when did I poop my pants? Like when could have happened? And I literally was like thinking, I'm like, I farted in computer class, but like I don't think I pooped myself. Like this is a lot of like, how could that happen? So then I like pee and I wipe and it's red, and I'm like, oh, like, oh no, actually I didn't even realize it at school. So I'm just like, okay, I pooped myself. I don't really know. So then of course I don't go to the nurse. I don't go to the office. I don't try to go home. I finish the day because that's like how I am. So I like put toilet paper in my poopy pants that I think. Then I go home. I go to the bathroom first thing. And then when I wipe that time, then it's bright red. And I'm like, oh, it's blood. And I'm like, it's dried blood all in my underwear. So any little girls listening, that could happen to you and be okay. And it's kind of a story. So yeah, but no, I don't know. I just remember I called Emily straight away because I was like, I got my period.
That's nice.
And you were on the computer with Mary Kate upstairs. So like that's probably like you found out probably when I was like screaming to Emily on the phone.
Okay. Yeah. But do you remember if I prepared you before? Like
I feel like that body book probably did in a way. Like I don't remember like a sit down conversation. And I remember being on the soccer team with the older girls too, and they were talking about like tampons and like
you pick up so much
tampon in and whatnot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think when I gave you that book, I think that was kind of like my ritual, giving the book. And I know we did have a conversation. Yeah.
We weren't woke like we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true. My mom gave me a book. So yeah, I'm right there with you. So is there anything like, Erin, if you have a daughter in the future that you would do differently? And then Suzanne, you can think about it too. Like, if you were to do it again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think like the men in our house kind of struggle with this topic. So my goal would definitely be to like just make it a normal topic, like how I've like been able to do in my classroom. And it's like, it's not like I'm not like, hi everyone, I got my period yesterday. I'm not like saying all that type of stuff, but just really truly normalizing it. And the only way to normalize something is to talk about it and to be honest about it. And yeah, I think I would just make those like, feminine power connections that we weren't really thinking about before in the moon cycle, and connecting it to yoga and your power. And so you're getting your period, so that means you should probably rest, like save that energy for that, and like make plans at certain times, and it's okay to cancel other times, because that's what I do now that I'm older, now that I'm like aware of everything, or not everything, but more stuff. Yeah, so I think just framing it in a positive way, because I feel like it's kind of this thing, it's like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Then it's like, ooh, and it's like, it's literally going to keep happening every month for the rest of your life. So let's like think about it in a happy way instead of like this like terrible thing. It's like an excuse to take a bath, or like an excuse to eat like a whole pizza or something.
Erin, what do you one of the things I'm thinking about is like what I would have done differently. I wish I
Mm,
had known more about natural ways to handle or manage the symptoms. So my
mm,
memory is like you would get a lot of headaches and cramps, and I remember a lot of Tylenol,
yeah.
Advil. I forget Tylenol, I think,
I don't even know.
and
I don't take any of that stuff anymore, but yeah.
yeah, I know you don't. And when I was a kid, it was Midol. That was what people would say. Oh, just take a Midol. And I never liked taking medicine for pain. But a lot of my friends, Midol was like the go-to.
Yeah, it still is for a
So
lot of people.
yeah, so I think that Neve, that would be something that as a mother, I wish I had more in my toolbox in terms of like chamomile tea or like self massage, sitting in silence, or some type of way to like to soothe your nervous system during instead of popping Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol. I remember you did a lot of that, Erin. Am I
Yeah, I used to
right?
take Excedrin migraine.
Like that's what it
I used
was.
to
Yeah,
get crazy headaches, yeah. But now I don't get
yeah.
headaches.
Mhm. We've come a long way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really appreciate all this, everything that you're all sharing, because it's just hitting, so home. And
Mhm.
one of the main things that I feel like needs to, like, to your point, Aaron, totally, it needs to be normalized. Like, half or more of us are bleeding every month. I was about to curse.
Mhm.
Normal. It's normal. I caught myself.
Good job.
Yeah, no, close one. The other, yeah, and I think the other thing is that there is like spiritual, like powerful clarity and amazingness during that time, that women, that we can have insights and intuition in our dreams. Everything shifts, and there's this, like, the veil is thin, and that is not talked about like anywhere that I'm finding. So that's definitely one of my missions, is because my experience has changed over the
I
years
love it.
too, right?
Mm,
Looking at it as a cleanse, looking at it as a time, and a cleanse, like, I'm not a huge fan of the Bible, but like, even like in the, a lot of things about around cleansing are like a spiritual, connecting with the universe, connecting with the divine, getting closer to yourself. Like, that's kind of the spiritual, mental, emotional part of a physical cleanse. And that's totally there. And we have a natural one every month. And that's just,
Mhm.
so that's
Yeah,
something.
it's so beautiful. I love looking at it that way. Yeah, it just gives it so much meaning. It's meaningful. It's serving a purpose. It's an important part of our way of being in this world. I
Yeah,
love
we're
that.
freaking creatrixes. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
birth
it's really
life.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do feel like that woman empowerment part is important. So do you feel like there's
Mhm.
any, like, what do you think is like the most important thing to share with younger girls? And this could go a little broader than the period. I mean, this could be
Mhm.
the period, but it could also be high school
Mhm.
age, or even getting into sex or mindful sex or relationships, like
Mhm.
anything that you're like, man, I wish someone had told me this, and that would have made my life easier.
I think a lot of things.
Mm.
A more recent realization that I had around dating and attraction that I've said to a few female friends of mine and male friends too over the past like year, since I kind of like was like, oh, is that just like you shouldn't like, or not you shouldn't, but basing who you like it's not a great idea to only like someone if they like you first. Like I feel like that's like if someone's interested in you or if someone likes you, then you're like, oh, like okay, so now I like them, or maybe now I could like them. But
Mhm.
choosing and knowing what you like ahead of time, and obviously that can change and like so many times and in so many ways, but yeah, so like being like, wait, am I actually interested in this person, or am I only interested in them because they're showing me interest, which probably is some chemical brain like trick that like your brain plays on you. So I think definitely that, because I was in a long-ish relationship, and then I had a date, and my first date, I remember after I was like, oh, does he like me? Like, is he gonna want to hang out with me again? And like looking back now, I'm still friends with this person, but like looking back now, I'm like and no one's like a catch over anyone else or whatever, but I'm like, that person was not like a person, like that was not like someone who I probably even wanted to date, but I was worried about that. Like, yeah. So yeah, I would say that to girls, like, you have so much power, and like if you just have a few close girlfriends, like that's all you need, whether they're in person or remote or whatever. Like you can find really good communities on Instagram, like some really great like people are out there, and like you are not alone. Like we are great and we are powerful, and we really, I don't know, I feel like we are coming up right, and like it is, and own it. Like, and don't worry if someone calls you the B word or whatever, like that's literally their issue. So just be yourself and be strong.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I love that, Erin. And I agree. I think that's really great advice. And again, because I work in a high school, and I have experienced this several times when just because one student likes another student, like it's almost like, okay, so the way I used to say it, I say it to kids, is like, you choose. You don't have to be chosen. You can choose. So just because somebody is attracted to you does not mean you have to reciprocate those feelings or go on a date or go to the prom. Like, it's okay. It's okay to say no. It doesn't mean you're being mean. Do it in a nice, respectful way. And I remember saying that to you, Erin, too. I don't know if you remember me saying that to you in like middle school, when boys started like liking you and things like that. And I was like, just because they like you doesn't mean. I wish someone had said that to me when I was when I was growing up, because I think my generation, or my girlfriends and I should say, my group, we would be like, oh, well, he asked me, I didn't want to make him feel bad. So I said, yes, I'll go, I'll do this, I'll go to the dance or whatever. And yeah, and I make a point of pointing that out to kids, like, no, you choose. It's so powerful to be in that position.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're being a bitch if you say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what it's doing, like what this conversation is triggering in me is like, that then takes it to the next step of like consent, where it's like, if you don't want to sleep with someone, you shouldn't feel obligated or like you have to sleep with them. Especially if you don't really like them, or you're not really like, and I think that as women, especially in the past, we put in this like, well, you have to like him back, or you have to go on a date with him, or you have to sleep with him, and that's just not true.
It is not true. You definitely do not need to do anything with anybody that you don't want to deal with. No. And that's your job to keep yourself safe in that way. And sometimes it's out of your control, and that's unfortunate, but you can do things that you know you can do to like avoid certain situations and whatnot, like is powerful. Like it is powerful. Like leave the party early. Like you do have the power to do that. You can do that.
Yeah. And I think it's just like it, to me, it seems like most of the relationship type things kind of can apply to sexual interactions as well, where it's just like, there's no, like, we don't need to sleep with someone because we feel bad for them or we feel obligated or whatever. Same with dating them or liking them even. So I'm really glad that you brought that into the conversation, because I think it's so important, especially like with this team of women I have that are, getting ready to mentor young women. I think it's just like that stuff matters, right? Because we're framing all of our ideas on things. And if women feel more empowered, or I say girls, maybe starting at like 10, 11, 12, feel more empowered in those ages where we generally feel vulnerable, if we can feel more empowered there, then how does that affect us in high school or as in college, as young adults? Like positively, I hope. That's my hope. That's my intention and desire. So
yeah.
Awesome. So I feel like that was pretty much everything. Is there anything else that either of you would want to add about mentoring women or bringing girls together, or any advice for me or the group, or closing thoughts? Ooh, I like the chime. I don't know who's chiming.
My friends, I'm at my friend's apartment. I think just the last thing I would say is that, and I think it seems like you definitely already know this, like language is so important. Like the words that you use is how you use them is like your meaning. You could have like the same, like an intent, but the way you say it, it could just like come out not so great, or it could be like abrasive to somebody. So I think like being really, really like gentle with your language and like purposeful with your language is definitely important when it comes to these topics. And when you hear language that maybe is kind of like one of those things that you're like, ugh, addressing it, like whether you're a teacher in the classroom or whether you're, you know, like a mom at a birthday party or whatever it is, like, you know, sometimes in public you're not going to address a stranger. It depends. You have to kind of feel it out. But yeah, like correcting language and being careful with your language.
And modeling it, like taking every advantage of every opportunity to model gentle language around natural things that happen to a woman. You know, I try to do that, and I can see sometimes people's faces like a little uncomfortable, but then realize like, no, this is good. This is one way to get it out there, and it's really important. So what I'd like to add is that I think what you're doing is incredible, Neve, and that there's such a need for it. And I think you are a wonderful person to be sharing these things and guiding students or younger or children, young women through this experience. Yeah, I think that it would be an incredible opportunity for kids to be in your presence and to talk about and explore all of these issues and experiences.
Yeah, thank you. I really, really appreciate you saying that. And it's
Mhm.
kind of amazing. Like, this is what happens. I mean, I'll teach, you know, I'll share this with them. I hope it lands. But when you
Mhm.
stop trying to do things and you surrender,
Yeah.
it goes through you. Like, I'm not doing anything. I didn't
Mhm.
even decide to do this. The universe is just doing this through me. And so I'm like, okay, cool,
Uh-huh.
let's do it. I don't know what's happening, but it's great.
Right.
And I do, but you know what I mean? It's kind of I never would have saw myself being
Mhm.
so adventurous as a young woman, being a mentor to younger women. And that's
Yeah.
actually kind of perfect. So it's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
And I'd also like to add, I think from a mom's point of view, like as a mother, I would be honored to have my child be in your presence.
Mm.
It would feel so right to me to have you be the person um, helping, leading, guiding my teenage daughter or my young adult woman, I just think I'd be so comfortable, like I'd be comfortable, but I'd also be honored, and I'd be so happy for my child that they got to be with somebody who was just so incredibly cool, and wise, and wise. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And it's my intention and desire really is to be like the crazy auntie that you
Yeah.
can tell everything to, but your sister
Yes.
also trusts.
Right. Yes.
That's
Yes.
I'm hoping to be that bridge person. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
well, thank you ladies so much for being here.
Thank you for
You're
having
very
us and
welcome.
trusting
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable.
us.
So important.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. Ooh. I can